is completely consistent. And that's part of being truthful. Nothing can be true without consistency being applied or in the definition. If you look, for example, you say what's consistent with the way things are about reality. You speak with what's consistent with what actually happened. See, consistency, that concept is very important when we talk about the concept of truth, right? So only God is totally self-consistent. He's the only one. So anytime somebody says, hey, this is the truth, we just let them speak. Let them speak. Whether it's the atheist professor, whether it's the Quran, whatever. And you know what's going to happen? Eventually they're going to be inconsistent. Because their worldview claims can't live in the same box. Now, people do that all the time, right? That's how we live. But we want to show people kind of those. And it's like this. Imagine there's two boats. Let's say this is just what happened in Houston, right? There's two boats, and in both, there's 3 people over here, 2 people over there. And one boat is filling up with water. It's got holes in it. It's clearly about to sink. And then there's another boat that's topsy-turvy. It's ready to go. It's all ship shape. Nothing tight. It's all good. It could go for miles and miles and miles. This other boat. And the people in the holy boat are saying, hey, guys, come over into this boat. Come over here, hurry. Come join us in this boat. Be saved. And the person in the healthy boat is saying, what do you mean? Look at your boat. No, our boat's great. And for some reason, these people don't realize their boat's about to sink. So the person in the healthy boat is showing the person in the unhealthy boat, you got a hole here, this needs to be patched, there's water already there. They're showing them. And then hopefully after a certain amount of time, they realize this boat is going to sink. Then they come into the real life preserver, the real boat that's going to rescue them, that can float and make it through. That's what we're trying to do to our Muslim friends. They're saying, when they do dawah, they're saying, I invite you to Islam. You come join the straight and noble path. And we're just saying, hey, your boat, I don't want to jump over there. Why don't you jump over here? And doesn't Jesus say that? The wise man, right? You guys know that song? Wise man builds his house upon a rock. Foolish man builds his house upon sand. And the winds and we always sometimes think of, that's the hard things of life. And maybe, or it could just be things that batter against whatever the foundation is that you have. And so Islam cannot withstand the windstorm of logic. It can't withstand the earthquake of rational thinking. You see what I'm saying? And so we're saying, come over here, Christ is solid rock. So let's look at some of those things. By the way, the answer I'm going to give is the Quran cannot be trusted. Now, by the way, before I go, that doesn't mean I'm saying the Quran is wrong about everything. We shouldn't think that. There's probably no book in the world that's wrong about everything. I mean, there might be, but I doubt, right? You know what I'm saying? Number 2, we're not saying that nothing the Quran says that Muhammad said or did. We're not saying all that's false. I don't believe it's all false. I believe there's evidence that you can show within reason that there's things that Muhammad said or did that contain in the Quran, right? And if you look at a lot of the Quran, it doesn't strain credulity too much to believe that because it really doesn't do any miracles in it. It just says some stuff. The miracle more is that people believe it's from God. That's the miracle. No, that's not really a miracle, that's the other way. But you know what I'm saying? And so it's not that type of wholesale thing. So it's a more precise thing to try to set up certain things. And so this is a kind of a standard form of argumentation. And I'm not saying that the average Muslim on the street, you're going to quite say this way. But I'm trying to give you categories of how to say it. And then this may be something in a more formal debate you might hear. But the idea is that you kind of see the categories of how the argument works. Here's how it works. Major premise of the argument. If the Quran is a revelation from God, it would not affirm something that contradicts its own message. Now, there's an assumption in the first major premise. And it's actually a few. Help me out. Let's do this. What are some of my assumptions in my first major premise? Just shout them out. What are some of them? There's assumptions in that major premise. I'm not saying it's incorrect. I'm saying there's assumptions built into that.
God gives revelation.
God exists before that. So God exists and God speaks. God gives revelation. So there's 2 right there, right? But what's the beauty of that? Do we agree with the Muslim about those assumptions? That's what's so nice about Islam. We agree about that. I'm not really saying it sounds nicer, but I'm just saying, well, it's nice because we can agree about that, right? There's another assumption, though, that has to do with the nature of God in there. Let's see if you can pick it up.
He's consistent. He's revealed.
Right. The woman in the wolf shirt, nailed it again. Sorry. I like this church. I used to have neighbors who always rock wolf shirts. That's like their thing. But that's correct. He's self-consistent. He's truthful. Isn't one of Allah's 99 names the truth? Right? He's supposed to be truthful. So we agree on that concept as well. Now, minor premise. The Quran affirms something that contradicts its message. So meaning the Quran says this is true, but this that the Quran points to is something that said after the Quran, you're not true. Right? Namely, the Torah, Psalms, and Gospel. What is it? Torah? How do you say it? Torah in Arabic, and when they say it, you guys, does anyone know? And I forget what it is for Psalms. Is it Zabor? And Gospel, Muslims know that with Injil. I think that's how you do that. Conclusion. Since the revelation from God would not affirm something which contradicts itself, we can therefore conclude the Quran is not revelation from God. We're just saying that if this really got to revelation, he wouldn't say, hey, this is true, when that thing contradicts the thing you already said. But the Quran does that. Example number 1. Verses from Surah 5. Let's take a look at these. Does anyone have their Qurans with them? No? Fortunately, you're not required to bring your Qurans to church. So I printed some of these verses up there on the screen for you. But he's got his Quran. All right, you win the golden star. Actually, let's give you a crescent moon. You win a crescent moon. All right, let's take a look at this though. But yeah, follow along if you can. There's different translations, and hey, if yours says something different, feel free. I got a couple different ones up here. We'll take a look at these. Surah 5, verse 3. But how is it that they come to you for judgment while they have the Torah, which is the judgment of Allah? Then they turn away, even after that, but those are not, in fact, believers. So a situation where it appears some kind of Jewish high official was accused of some kind of crime, probably adultery. And then Muhammad ends up being the one supposed to judge this situation. And his answer seems to say, hey, you guys have your own standard from God already, just use that to judge yourselves. That seems to be what he's saying here. And if you don't believe it, you're not a believer. Do you guys... do you see now? You're going to see how Islam has trouble with what it says about our scriptures. You'll see that. And that's what really a lot of them will point out today. But that seems a pretty clear verse. Now, how does the Torah correct? What's the way it contradicts the Quran, maybe? So these are the first 5 books of Moses now. Let's talk about this. What's the place where they contradict? Maybe you don't know. That's fine. But yeah.
Where God walks in the garden.
All right. Why? How does that contradict the Quran?
Because I believe usual Muslim understanding is that God's completely separate.
Right. So there might be a theophany going on in there, and Islam's not going to have a theophany. There's an interesting one also related to that. Does anyone know the story? Allah says to all of creation, "Bow down and worship who?" Anyone remember this? Adam. Allah commands creation to worship Adam. One guy says, I'm worshiping no Adam. Who was that guy? Satan. In the Quran, let's give the win for Satan in there, right? Wasn't he right? Should creation be worshipped? Islam is not as old as Christianity. We got a 600-year head start on them, right? But it also is not as young as Scientology. And so there's a lot of smart guys throughout Islamic history that have said a lot of things. And some of them legitimately wanted to fix the contradictions. My point is, Muslim commentators have discussed these verses. Now, we'd be here all day if I said Muslim commentator X said this. We never get anything done. But just know, now the average Muslim you talk to may not know that. But the Muslims have their scholars and have had their scholars, and they've said some things, and some of their answers are relatively plausible sometimes. I'm not saying they're correct. I'm just saying, even though I'm doing this way, there's still a level of intellectual respect I have for some of the Islamic tradition and the commentators. But at the end of the day, there's some pretty plain verses. You start to add them up and you say, the Quran affirms stuff that contradicts it. And there's one. Let's look at another one. Surah 5:46. And we sent, following in their footsteps, Jesus, the son of Mary. They like to call him Isa ibn Mary. Now, you know what's funny? When I talk to Arabic Christians, they're like, don't call him Isa, it's Yesu or Yeshua. Right? You don't call him. Isa's like sort of a Quranic misunderstanding of how to say Jesus' name. So when you're talking to a Muslim, you can say Isa ibn Mary if you want to, but it's funny, actual Arabic Christian I noticed, that's not right. You You don't say Isa, so they don't even utilize that. Confirming that which came before him in the Torah, and we gave him the gospel. So this is supposed to be the divine, the sort of divine plural, Allah, gave him the Injil, in which, now listen what's in the Injil, guidance and light. That's why when you have one of those little Gospels of John and you say, here's a gift for you, my Muslim friend, will you please take this? No. It's guidance and light in here. It's guidance and light. By the way, it's guidance and light, whether or not Surah 546 says it. We know that. But if they're saying they believe this, guidance and light, right? By the way, I'm holding the Quran, not the Injil, so this is just a book illustration. I don't really mean there's guidance and light in here. In which was guidance and light in confirming. So this claims, it seems to be claiming that the Quran and the Torah and Injil all confirm each other. There's a mutual yeah, right? Confirming that which preceded of the Torah is guidance and instruction for the righteous. Now, does the Torah confirm? No. And does the Quran confirm? No. And especially when you get to the Gospels, the Quran is filled with don't worship Jesus. Jesus never said worship me. It's confirmed with what seems to be a misunderstanding of the Trinity, which Trinity seems, the only time 3 are mentioned and then explained, one time or whatever, it says it's Father, Son, and Mary. That's the only time. The Trinity is never revealed as Father, Son, and Spirit in the Quran. The only time 3 are mentioned, because Jesus says, no, I never told them to take me and my mother to worship them. Jesus says that. So it seems like that's a misunderstanding of the Trinity. Meaning, clearly the Quran is not confirming, and those 2 books are not confirming it either. Yet the Quran is affirming them. By the way, you notice, the Quran wants the support of the Bible. It wants our recommendation, right? When I say our, I'm saying the book that we hold to. But it doesn't give it, though. Surah 547. And let the people of the gospel, that's us, judge by what Allah has revealed therein. It's saying, judge this by what you've already got. And whoever does not judge by what Allah has revealed, then it is those who are defiantly disobedient. So if I have asked Muslims in the past, you won't believe this? No. Do you want to be defiantly disobedient? What do you mean? And then that's where they say, well, I'm not being defiantly disobedient, because what you're holding in your hand, Mr. Christian, is not the same thing that they were talking about back there. That's where they have to go. They have to go to the corruption of the Bible. It's the only escape route. You know why? Because it seems like the average Muslim today knows more about the Bible than Muhammad did. So Muhammad's affirming these scriptures, and it seems like he's actually unaware of the contents. The average Muslim knows the Bible doesn't really line up. So that's why textual corruption is up. So that's why textual corruption is the go-to. But if you read the Quran, it doesn't actually really ever say the Bible's corrupt. So it'll be my hint towards it. But if you actually read through it, you're like, this doesn't say the Bible's corrupt. This doesn't say the Bible's corrupt. And what if there was a scripture that clearly said the Bible's corrupt in the Quran, it would seem to contradict all these other things we're reading, wouldn't it? The Quran's got a lot of problems. Example number 2, showing the Quran affirms something that contradicts this message. The Quran tells people to look in the Torah and Gospel to find Muhammad. Remember where it was Waldo? There he is, right? Something at the tower, right? Muhammad makes us play this game with the New Testament. Where's Muhammad in the New Testament? It's not by the Eiffel Tower. He's not in there, guys. He's not in the New Testament. Oh, wait, there is a place where he's in there. Beware of false prophets. Sorry. I couldn't help it. But he's not in there, right? He's not in there. And it's so interesting. When a Muslim tries to show you where he is, usually somewhere in between John 13 and 15, and it's the Paraclete passages that talk about the Holy Spirit. And it's like, well, this, because it says this. And it's like, you look at the verses right around it, they can't affirm them. So Muhammad was sent by the Father and the Son? Well, that part's corrupted. So they literally play Jenga with the text. They pull out this part and they put that in it. But because they have to do that to get the verse they think will fit Muhammad, they have to take out the other parts. But it's inconsistent. Now, they'll do it with passion and ferocity and maybe even convincing when you hear a public speaker do this. But you got to realize what they're really doing here. Let me show you some of these examples. I'm going to have fun with this one in a second here. Let me see. I'll let you guys read that, actually. Can you read that on up there while I look for something? I'm going to read something in relation to that to you guys. All right. The Quran Dilemma. It's not a Muslim holy book, but it certainly looks cool. There's 9 surahs here discussed, meaning this is not even discussed a complete Quran. We're going to volume 2. Kind of expensive, kind of awesome. You look at it, volume 1, right? And it's a little Christian commentary, apologetic issues related to it. Look at it, it's beautiful. Look at this. So they do Surah 7, 157 here, right? The reason I'm showing you this is because guess what? You can buy this and you can read it. And when you read the Quran or whatever, you can compare it and say, hey, what does the Quran going to say about the Quran? Now remember, it's only the first 9 chapters, but those are the big ones, so that's good. I'm going to read what they say. Now it's going to get a little bit long, but I want you to hear this because they say great questions about this text. These are great questions. So let's look at these questions in relationship to Surah 7, 157 that's up there, okay? Let's see, where should I start? So, first of all, this verse calls Muhammad the Ummi prophet. That means the unlettered prophet, or the illiterate prophet. Although, was Muhammad illiterate? I don't know. He was a caravan trader. I don't know. Was he illiterate? I don't know. Maybe not, right? And so, there's other explanations to that, but most Muslims just go with that. And so here you have this further discussion about the Torah and the Gospels, right? And let's examine this claim and look at it and see what it says. And I want you to notice the following things from this. This is from the book, when you're reading the book. First, it is spoken by 2 witnesses, meaning 2 different people relate to this. Okay, let me explain. This is a little bit confusing. Hold on. This is saying that Muhammad is supposed to be found in the Gospels. You guys see that part, that underlying part? That's what it's saying there. Clearly, that doesn't happen. However, there's hadith which say in the hadith, the hadith are sayings about Prophet Muhammad. There's hadith which claim to be the missing verse. Most Muslims don't actually know this. That's why they go to the John passage, right? But this so-called missing verse in the hadith is spoken by 2 different witnesses of the hadith. And I want to talk a little bit about them. One of them, let me read the so-called missing verse supposed to be Muhammad that supposedly is out of the Bible, okay? O thou prophet, verily we have sent thee as a witness and herald of glad tidings and a warner. No, I'm sorry. That's wrong. Here's the verse. This part's getting really confusing. Man, I thought I could do this better than this. This part's tricky. Here's the supposed to be missing verse. Muhammad is a quote, refuge to the Gentiles, Allah's servant, a messenger attribute, one who trusts or relies, neither harsh nor coarse, nor clamorous in the markets, and is not paid an iniquity that pardons and forgives. And so it doesn't say Muhammad in here, is the point. This verse that is supposed to be in the Bible. It's just describing this person. By the way, we're going to get to this, but does not repay iniquity for iniquity? I don't think that's our guy. Because they actually ask that in the next question. It says, really, how much of this can be applied to Muhammad? So number 1, it can be applied to anyone. Number 2, we're almost doing this for the sake of argument. We don't think this is a missing verse. There's not good evidence for it. But if it was, we're saying this can be applied to anyone, and it doesn't sound like it's Muhammad. 4, why don't others mention this particular text? Remember, the Bible's been commentated, copied, everything for thousands of years now, and no one discusses this verse ever. And there's something that textual critics talk about. It's called the tenacity of the text. And that simply means that once a reading passes into the New Testament manuscript stream, maybe it was an accidental thing that gets in a stream. I don't mean the original Bible being correct. I'm talking about some copy somewhere. It doesn't disappear because copyists always are conservative. They tend to copy more, not less. If they're worried it's part of the text, they include it in there. Meaning, if this reading was ever in the actual Bible, it never would have disappeared in this way. And we would have heard some commentary or something about it in some way. But we don't. So we're showing how unlikely it's fit. When the Old Testament speaks about a prophet who would come after Moses, it speaks of him as a prophet from among the Israelites. Deuteronomy 18. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your fellow Israelites. The condition from among your fellow Israelites means that the prophet will come from one of the 12 tribes of Israel. That doesn't apply to Muhammad. There's more to say about this, but I wanted to give you a sense of how books like that can help you with questions like that. Sorry for a little bit of bumbling. Let's move on and go back. Reason number 2, major premise. If the Quran is a revelation from God, it will not include material which is known to be false. And when I say include, I mean in an affirming way as if it's its own. Minor premise, the Quran does contain material which is known to be false. Conclusion, therefore, the Quran is not a revelation from God. Now, when I say known to be false, that's the kind of the focus and the emphasis. I'm not just saying the Quran says something, about the sun setting. I'm showing how from the Quran's own standard, it's going to fall short. Let me show you what I mean by this as we go to this first example. Surah 3, 46 and Surah 19, 27 to 34 contain material from the Arabic Infancy Gospel of the Savior. Now, who has their phone now and likes to do searches and read things in public? You down? I'm going to be very sure. Google the Arabic Infancy Gospel of the Savior. And what I want you to do is, you're going to tell the class about when it was written. Yeah, about when it was written, maybe where it was circulating around, maybe a couple relevant information that we know about. Maybe if you can see how many copies we got, just a couple of things you're going to tell us a little bit about it. But especially when it was written, that's the main thing I want to know. The Arabic Infancy Gospel of the Savior. Alright, so he's going to look that up, and we're going to get back to that. Because that's why I put that phraseology, known to be false. What's up with the music? What's going on? Wow, really? Man, people in Anaheim party all the time. Alright, let me read this. This is from the Arabic Infancy Gospel of the Savior. So this is not Quranic, and by the way, it's definitely not Bible. This is from paragraph 1. He has said what Jesus spoke, and indeed, when he was lying in his cradle, said to Mary his mother. So Jesus speaks from the cradle here. I am Jesus, the Son of God. What? Hold up. So this thing is about to influence the Quran, this Arabic infancy, by the way, has Jesus calling himself the Son of God in it. Now that didn't make it to the Quran, but I'm just saying. Because the Quran seems to affirm it by quoting it in this way. The Logos, whom thou hast brought forth, as the angel Gabriel announced to thee, and my Father has sent me for salvation of the world. Now listen to Surah 346. He will speak to the people in the cradle and in maturity and will be of the righteous. Now, just hold on. I'm going to show you more of this to show you how this whole idea of Jesus speaking from the cradle is sort of borrowed from these false gospels that were circulating in the Arabian Peninsula at that time. This is interesting because the Quran claims in Surah 344, this is an account of things beyond your knowledge that we revealed to you. You were not present among them when they cast lots to see which of them should take charge of Mary. You were not present when they argued about her. So notice, I read 346, that's from 344. Now let me show you something. This right here is another book. This is not a Christian book. This is called the Study Quran. And it's the first Quran that has serious commentary and notes. And sometimes they're honest. So these are Islamic scholars. But listen to their commentary on Surah 344. Unseen can mean what is absent from us through being invisible or hidden, but also what is absent by being in the past, in the future, or in another state of being. The Quran also... Right, guys? We can see that. Anything else? What language is it written in Arabic?
Syrian.
That's interesting too. So you have something where there's other evidences. I don't know the one verse. There's other evidences for how the Quran takes the Arabic Infancy Gospel of the Savior. But it's interesting because Syriac, kind of like this ancient language of the Assyrians or whatever, it's not Arabic, and yet the Quran is utilizing it. Got anything else? Those are two good ones.
I just see the earliest known mention was a 9th century Syrian.
Of that gospel, okay. Alright, well that's good enough. So just try to get some more information. Now the next one's probably going to have more information. Maybe you can do the next one too. It'll have a little more information about it when we get to it. You'll see. It's the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. If you want, you can look that up on 2 pages. The Quran contains material known to be false, specifically from the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. Now let me read paragraph 2, verse 2 of the Arabic Infancy Gospel of Thomas. It says this. Having made soft clay, he fashioned thereof 12 sparrows. And it was Sabbath when he did these things, or made them, and there were also many of the little children playing with him. So, Jesus is young here. And they didn't have, DSs yet. They didn't have iPhones. So, what are you going to do if you're bored with some guy who made some pigeons out of clay, right? Some sparrows out of clay. Sounds like a fun party trick. Well, I'm reading this in the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. Because what happened is, remember, the Gospels had already been out. But there's a gap in the Gospels where if you want to have fun, you can write some historical fiction from Jesus' childhood and that 40-day period. Remember that 40-day period where he was with them after he rose? But the Bible doesn't really say much of what he did or said during that time, during that 40 days when he was with them after his resurrection, right? So a lot of these false Gospels that Dan Brown and the Vinci Code say should be encoded, guess where they fall? Guess where they have a lot of events take place? In Jesus' youth and in the 40-day period. That's what they tend to do. Because they're filling in gaps. By the way, that proves the Gospels already existed. Because they're filling in historical gaps the Gospels left. You see what I'm saying? It proves they're secondary. Now look at Surah 349. He will say, I bring you a sign from our Lord. From clay I will make for you the likeness of a bird. I shall breathe into it, and by God's leave it shall become a living bird. Now, first of all, it seems like Jesus, he's the one speaking here, by the way. It seems like Jesus is creating here, which Allah only says he can do. But they go to that phrase that says, by God's leave, and say, well, from the he allowed him the power to do it. But nonetheless, this is clearly, you can see where this account in the Quran gets it from, right? It's from the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. And remember, I've got other ones, like we're not going to look at 110, or 1927-34, but there's other longer examples, just short ones, of clear borrowing from these. But what does Google say about the Infancy Gospel of Thomas?
It dates to the 2nd century.
So a little earlier.
I just see that it's believed to be attributed to the Gnostics.
Right. You know, you might be talking about the Gospel of Thomas. I don't think that's the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. Does it say the Gospel of Thomas?
It's the Infancy Gospel.
Really? Oh, okay. Well, either way, so the Infancy Gospel of Thomas is earlier, but nonetheless, it has this story, and you can see it's from there. Now, here's why this is interesting. The Quran itself has the criticism by other people against Muhammad about these types of sayings. Here's what I mean. Surah 625, look at this. When they come to you to argue with you, so this means Allah saying to Muhammad, when they come with you to argue with you, the unbelievers say, these are nothing but fables of the men of old. Why would that be a charge against Muhammad? Because he's repeating fables from the men of old, such as these two fake gospels. The Quran itself has this criticism in it, which is valid. But it's interesting. Number one, there's stuff in these that the Quran wouldn't affirm itself, but there's stuff in them that's known to be false that no Christian or Jew or some commentators just even logically agree with if you read these other false gospels. Surah 25:5, and they say tales of the ancients, which he has caused to be written, and they are dictated before him morning and evening. So it's just saying that that's what Muhammad's producing, tales of the ancients. Because clearly he was sort of remixing stuff that he would borrow from those places. Surah 46:11 and 12. And when they are not guided by it, they will say, this is an ancient falsehood. So Allah is saying, look, if you're not going to submit to it, here will be your counter argument. Oh, it's an ancient falsehood. So it's like setting it up like that's why you won't listen to it or whatever. But my point is, the Quran itself has these because people knew these because they've been passed around orally. They're sort of almost like, legends or fables that some people would know about things Jesus did as a kid, that type of thing. And the Quran has the charges in it. Do you guys see what I'm saying there? In its own pages, people criticize the Quran, rightly so, for that. Now, let's look at this, what the Quran says about this, because, you'll see how this is relevant, hopefully, after I read these. Surah 10:38. Do they say he hath devised it? Say then, bring a surah like it, and call if ye can on other than God, if ye do tell the truth. So, people are saying to Muhammad, you just made this stuff up. And then Allah's advice to Muhammad is, you tell them, hey, you bring your own surah, it's even competes with my surah, right? What's the point of that? It's saying, you can't come up with this type of stuff. It's only from God. Well, hold up. Because it seems like you just ripped off something written in Syriac and Greek from way back in the day. So it already existed. And to make matters worse, the Quran's in Arabic. Muhammad must have only heard these orally. He didn't read, so he didn't read the Syriac and Greek. So what version of these stories is he even getting anyway? But something like it already existed, because we just showed you. So what is this? How is this a good challenge when the book fails in that way? Surah 2:23. And if ye are in doubt of what we have revealed unto our servant, then bring a chapter like it. Been there, done that. And call your witnesses other than God if you tell the truth. Do you guys see how the Quran smashed itself by making this challenge? Because it fails its own ability. There's already stuff like unto it, as it were. Say, if mankind and jinns united together to bring the like of this Torah, so even if the genies and the men got together, they couldn't do this. They could not bring the like, though they should back each other up. So, I got mine, and there's genies behind me, and where's our Surah? We wouldn't be able to come up with it. But apparently the Arabic Infancy Gospel of Thomas could, right? You see what I'm saying? How this is a problem? I hope you do. Reason number 3, why we cannot trust the Quran. Major premise. If the Quran is a revelation from God, then it will not contradict itself. Seems obvious, okay, right? These are similar argumentations, but you see how they're all internal critiques is what we're doing there. Minor premise, the Quran contradicts itself. Conclusion, therefore, the Quran is not a revelation from God. Let's look at a few of these. By the way, I'm going to read this one. This is interesting, especially in the Arabic. I was just reading commentary on it. In the Arabic, it's even more interesting. I'll tell you why in a second. Surah 482. Then do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from any other than Allah, they would have found within it much contradiction. In the Arabic, it kind of basically says many a contradiction. It seems to almost imply there's a few. Much like there would be if it wasn't from Allah, there'd be a whole lot of them. But it doesn't say no or none. Now, obviously, I know the Muslim doesn't think that, but it's just it's strange the way it's written. It's unclear. And the Quran, by the way, the claim that the Quran makes fuss up and that Muslim theologians assure us that it's clear. There's an Arabic word that actually means like clear or straight or basically obvious. And the doctrines of the Quran is that it's clear about it. By the way, if the Quran is so clear, why do you need all those hadiths to figure out what's going on in it? It's not. You have without the hadith, the Quran it doesn't make sense. You don't know who's talking. You don't know the background of anything. Example number one of a self-contradictory thing in the Quran. Now, some of you may not actually go with this argument. That's okay. I'm trying to introduce to you something slightly different than some of these. And you may say, oh, I'm looking at that. Oh, I never heard that. You may not completely buy it. You may say, no, I don't think that's quite right. That's okay. I'm trying to do a little bit of different things with some of this. It's sort of internal critiques based upon principles of logic. And even if I don't have it exactly right, I'm trying to show you how you can do this kind of thing. There's an Islamic doctrine called Infancy, and it means transcendence, which is like God's sort of separation, right? And it basically means that no human language, which is derived from changing experience, that's true enough there, can positively and appropriately describe Allah because He is incomparable. Surah 42:11. So there seems to be an Islamic doctrine really drawn from Surah 42:11, which basically says you can't really describe Allah. But the doctrine written is it logically impossible for the Quran to be what it claims to be a positive revelation and description of Allah. Meaning, Tanzih, taken to its logical conclusion, would seem to preclude the idea that something like the Quran, describing Allah as it does, could actually even exist. The Quran rules out what the Quran claims to be. Now, again, the commentators have stuff to say about this, but it seems like on its face value, it doesn't do it. You know what? Let's see what the study Quran says. I actually don't really answer this. I just want to see real quick. This may fail, it may work. We'll see. Let's see. So again, study Quran is a new, expensive thing. It just came out. It's written by Islamic scholars, but it's a little more honest than your average translation. And the notes, which are more extensive, because we're used to big fancy study Bibles. Muslims really aren't. That's sort of not. This is called the Study Quran, a new translation and commentary. Saeed Hossein Nasser is the editor-in-chief. It's on Harper One. It's a pretty big, serious book. It's one of the few times, you can say, hey, there's some serious Islamic scholarship going on, because some of the scholarship in it is mildly self-critical. I'm not saying you don't believe the Quran, I'm just saying it's more honest than the average. Let's see what it says here. Whoa, that's a long... Yeah, okay, so there's no way I can really... They have a long entry on that.
They have a lot to explain away.
Yeah, so see, the top is the text, and the bottom is the... See? So again, I'm not here to... I don't... Like David Wood, he spoke... I can't compare with David Wood, right? He's the incomparable one. But I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to do something a little bit different. It's almost like tools for you to think about this and ways to approach it a little bit. And hopefully some good arguments so you can say, okay, let me rework it, a different take on it. That's kind of what we're trying to do. And part of it is even showing you resources. Now, granted, this is fine. It's $50. But it's a ministry cost, right? We're doing ministry. Yes, if you're doing this, buying a Quran might be part of your ministry cost. And the church isn't going to pay for it, you just buy it. That's what we do. We're adults. Right? We want to reach these folks? Here's a tool. All right. Now, let me look at another example. The Quran, now this is general. So, and this I'm not going to be quoting a bunch of Quranic verses. I want to, and most of you probably can see this, but let me try to break it down and explain it. The Quran teaches, does it not, that God is holy and just towards sin. Now, you may say, well, Allah, the Quran's not really that holy to me. But nonetheless, doesn't the Quran present him that way, right? And that he's just in his judgments, right? He considered a just judge. He's not like a capricious deity like Zeus. I'm saying the way he's presented in Islamic theology. I'm not saying what you think of Allah. I'm saying the way he's understood from within the framework. That's why I keep on saying this is an internal critique. Zeus, no one thinks Zeus is fair. He morphed into a human and stole my wife. That's messed up, right? Zeus does that type of stuff. Allah doesn't do that type. Now, Muhammad might do that. But not Allah himself, right? Supposed to be holy and just towards sin. But it also teaches there can be salvation even where guilt remains. I'm not saying there's a verse that said that, but that is basically what it is. Now let me run through this and then we can re-explain any of these that we need. Because a person's bad works, they're not changed by your later good ones. Right? We all know that. If we did this back here, which we all did, and then we do this good thing up here, which maybe some of us do or whatever, that thing's still there. It doesn't disappear. It's not like that still happened regardless of this. It's like, cops gave me a parking ticket, but what about all the times I parked in the right spot? You did it, you parked in the wrong spot this time, you get the ticket. It doesn't make it go away. They continue on one's record. And there's sort of a legalistic moralism in Islam, but it doesn't really address the problem because that stuff is still there. So keeping Ramadan the proper way is just what you're supposed to do, but it doesn't make those things really disappear. So this shows a lot because he still forgives the Muslim. It says he cannot tolerate sin, he must punish it, but it looks like Allah can tolerate sin and he doesn't need to punish it. Because we, as Christians, have an objective reason why our sins are forgiven, right?